Hello, this is Scholar Strive doing some math. Today we'll be adding and subtracting real numbers. Here we go. And we're going to be looking at some properties. So looking at our vocabulary, the first one is called the identity property of addition. And basically what this says is if you take any number, so A, take any number, and you add 0 to it, you get A. So the identity property is you take any number, let's say 1, and if you add 0 to 1, it still stays 1. If you have 2 and you add 0 to it, it still stays as 2. So the additive inverse, if you take a number and add its inverse, it equals 0. So as in if I have 1 and you take its opposite number, so plus negative 1, that equals 0. If we have 2, you add negative 2 to get 0. So the commutative property of addition, so this third one here, it doesn't matter how you add. You can either add left to right, right to left. So for example, 2 plus 3 is the same as 3 plus 2. You get 5 either way. Now this doesn't work for subtraction because 2 minus 3 is negative 1, where 3 minus 2 is positive 1. So remember, this is the commutative property of addition. This works only for addition. Associative property. So let's say we're adding 3 numbers together. So we have 1 plus 2 plus 3. It doesn't matter which one you add first. You can add these 2 first, and that'll be the same thing as adding these 2 first. So 3 plus 3 is 6, and this is 5 plus 1 is 6. So we'll get the same thing. 3 plus 3, 1 plus 5, 6 equals 6. Same thing. So it doesn't matter which ones you add first if you're just adding numbers. Subtraction rule. So adding a negative is the same as subtracting a positive. So what they mean is if I have 1 plus a negative 2, that's the same thing as 1 minus 2. And then vice versa, if I'm subtracting a negative, so 1 minus negative 2 is the same thing as 1 plus 2. So let's do some examples. So 10 plus negative 7, so that's the same thing as 10 minus 7, which is 3. Negative 4 plus negative 2 is the same thing as negative 4 minus 2, which is negative 6. 3/5 plus a negative fifth is the same thing as 3/5 minus 11/5, which is negative 8/5. Negative 6.2 plus 1.4 is the same thing as negative 6.2 plus 1.4, which is negative 4.8. More problems. Negative 3 minus, so this is the same thing as negative 3 minus 11. This is the same thing as 5 minus 13. Negative 8. So this one So the denominators are not the same, so remember I'm going to multiply this one by something, which in this case 2, to make it the same. So 3 times 2 is 6, 8 times 2 is 16, so 16 over 6 minus 1/6 is 15 over 6. Negative 9.6 plus itself is 0. Ten minus 7 is the same thing as 10 plus 7. 2 negatives makes it positive. Negative 4 minus 2 is negative 4 plus 2, so negative 2. 8 plus 11, which is 19. No, sorry, let me go backwards. 8 over 7 plus 11 over 7 is 19 over 7. Okay, let's move on to the next. Negative 6.4 minus 1.2. So we're adding more negative. So that would be negative 7.6. 3 minus 11 becomes 3 plus 11, which is 14. 5 plus 13 is 18. 8 minus 4 is the same thing as 8 plus 4, which is 12. And negative 9 minus 9, be careful. This is negative 9 plus another negative 9. So we're starting at negative 9 and going left 9. Negative 18. So identify the property being illustrated. Okay, so we have, let's look at A. Negative 3 plus 0 equals negative 3. So that would be the first one, the identity property. So remember, the identity property says if I have a number, I can add 0 to it and it stays the same. Okay, this one, if you just go based on looks, this is the associative property. And what that says, if I'm adding 3 numbers, I can add these 2 first, so 5 plus 3, or I can add 4 plus 5 together first. Doesn't matter. Part C is the commutative property. You can add them backwards or forwards. And then lastly is the inverse. Take a number and add its opposite self, and then you get 0. Okay? So evaluate the expression when x is negative 2 and y is 7.2. Okay? So for every time I'm going to see an x, I'm going to plug in negative 2, and whenever I see a y, I'm going to plug in here. So what we're doing is substitute. Okay? So x equals negative 2, and y equals 7.2. So I'm going to rewrite that. 7.2, because that's our y, minus negative 2, because x is negative 2, plus 6.8. Okay. So we see 2 minuses there, so 7.2 plus, sorry, I wish I had more space. 7.2 plus 2 plus 6.8. Seven point 2 plus 2 plus 6.8. So So we have 9.2 plus 6.8, which is 16. So write an example of the following properties. We can make up our own numbers. So if we have 5, we can add 0 to it and still get 5. Inverse property, I can take a number, let's say -7, and then add its opposite to get 0. Associative property, let's do 7 plus 8 first, and then add 9. That's the same thing as adding 8 and 9 first, then adding 7. Commutative property, 10 plus 11 is the same thing as 11 plus 10. So I just created my own examples there. Lastly, what we're doing here, so we're going to take x. Every time we see an x, we're going to put -3. Every time we're going to see y, we're going to put 5.2. So x, which is -3, minus y, which is 5.2, plus 8. So that's going to be -8.2 plus 8, which is -0.2. Okay. Once again, y is 5.2 minus parentheses x, which is -3 minus 2, close parentheses. So this is 5.2 minus, in parentheses, -5. 2 minuses makes it positive. So this becomes 5.2 plus 5, which is equal to 10.2. And one more to go. So once again, parentheses, y is 5.2 minus 4 minus x, which is -3. So notice how I put, so x is -3, so we have 2 minuses going on. So 5.2 minus 4 is 1.2. And then minus 3 becomes plus 3. So 4.2. So try out your homework. If you have any questions, please email or wait for our Zoom session. All right, have a good day.